Hello everyone, Public Jim here. It's September 28th. We have a winter storm warning for today and tonight. And so far it hasn't done much other than get kind of windy and sprinkle now and then. We had one little snow flurry, but I thought it'd be a perfect opportunity to get out and practice some skills. So I'm heading up on our upper property to find a location to camp out. I'm going to be setting up my tarp shelter and that sort of thing, getting ready to spend the night tonight. They're predicting, I think, a low around 27 overnight and some gusty winds, so I guess wind chill down around 20 or a little below. So should be a good time to work on setting up a shelter and spend the night out when it's halfway as cold. It does look like we have some snow moving in pretty soon, so I should probably hurry up and get a spot and get my shelter put up. I'll just switch the camera around and let you guys see what I'm seeing. So I don't know how visible it is on my camera here, but through the gap in the trees over there I can see that everything off in the distance is kind of socked in and white, and I'm starting to see a couple of flakes coming down. And then when I pan around to this side, there's definitely white on the top of the hill, so we're not too far below where it's sticking a little bit. I expect we'll probably see some coming relatively soon, so I'm going to hurry up and go get a spot set up, and I'll get back to you later. Okay, here's where I'm going to spend the night. Got a nice little sheltered area here. The trees aren't blowing around much because there's enough other big ones blocking the wind that it is a pretty safe spot. There's a ton of pine needles there, so I can just rake a bunch of those up to put underneath my bedding. I'm going to see about clearing away a few smaller branches and get some stuff set up, and then get out the tarp and build myself a shelter, and I'll get that done here pretty quickly. Okay, I got my shelter all set up. Here it is from the back side, just in the middle of this group of trees. That's where I'll be spending the night. I was gathering up a mess of pine needles from around here and stuffing all of those inside. One thing that I've learned from my previous winter outings is that with a tarp, it's pretty easy to set up a relatively waterproof, windproof shelter, but the real difficulty is in protecting yourself from the cold coming up from the ground. So it's worth taking a little more time to build up something between you and the ground, just so that you don't wake up in the middle of the night freezing from just sucking up that cold. So I put way more pine needles in here than what you would think is necessary, but I've learned from hard experience that they do compress quite a bit, so you want to take the time to really get a good pile of them. Then I'm going to put my grabber emergency blanket there on top of it with the red side down for preventing any water from getting to me, and then with the heat reflecting side up. The inside of my tarp also has the reflective surface, so should keep me fairly warm. I'll button down the front of this here a little bit more before I go in there, but I'll see if I even need my emergency bivvy. I might just be able to sleep on top of the space blanket and not need anything else to stay warm. But you know, if they're correct about the forecast, it might get fairly chilly tonight. So far, haven't seen any snow but even if it does, I'm not too concerned about it where I'm set up because it'll be well sheltered from any snow. And I'm looking forward to a fun night out here in the woods. Okay, I got my space blanket spread out and my sleeping pad put in here, inflated my little camping pillow. I definitely like some sort of luxury even when I'm camping out in the woods. Got my emergency bivvy bag there just in case I need it, but I have a feeling it's going to be fairly warm in here anyway. And worst case scenario, if it really gets ugly tonight, I can take the edge of this space blanket and burrito that up over me and really keep in the warmth. So should be pretty well set for that. So now I just need to unroll my J-pole antenna for my radio, get that hooked up so I have communications if I need it. And I'm going to also cut some branches and some down stuff and just kind of block off some of the access points around the perimeter. Not that I'm paranoid, but we do have bears and cougars and such on our property in the area, so I don't really want any big predators sneaking up on me at night. So I'm just going to get some of that, my defensive stuff set up, and then I'll be ready to start thinking about dinner. Hey everyone, I'm back. Full disclosure, once I got everything set up here, I went back to the house, had a nice comfortable dinner, did some reading, just because that's the way I am. I didn't see much point in staying up here the whole time and cooking my dinner on site when I was on my own property. Plus, it makes it a little bit more of a interesting challenge to navigate back in and find the place in the dark. It's currently about 31 degrees. Still have not really seen any of the snow that they're talking about in the forecast. There's a little bit of rain and snow coming down right now, but nothing serious. So I don't expect anything right away. Hopefully we won't get buried tonight, but we'll see. I don't know if it shows up on camera, but I've got a little bit of moisture on top of the shelter here. Not much, but there's a wee bit that's getting through the branches up above. But unless it just poured or something, I don't anticipate that I'll really get anything down here. So I'm going to get my pack inside and get set up and ready to spend the night here. I did change into something slightly warmer than I had on earlier. I'm now wearing my BDUs instead of blue jeans. And I put on a long sleeve thin undershirt and a soft shell jacket, but nothing too terribly extreme. I actually have a cap on my head now, just figured if it rained I wanted to keep that off my head, but not a stocking cap, just a baseball cap. I haven't put on any gloves or anything. I'm feeling quite comfortable. I was out here probably 2.5 to 3 hours earlier in just jeans and a t-shirt with a really lightweight rain jacket over it, and never got cold at all. So unless it gets way colder than what they're predicting tonight, I should be in pretty good shape. But I will do more updates later on. Well, I'm inside the shelter now. It's about 9:30. Getting ready to spend the night here. As you can see, I do have my lightweight long underwear on, and then my soft shell jacket and hat and such. But so far, no need for a stocking cap. And granted, I'm fully clothed, but haven't felt cold at all. So as long as I can stay fairly comfortable like this, I'm not going to bother with the bivvy bag. If I wake up and I'm too chilly, I'll slip into that. Well, I'll probably get up and move around and warm up and then get into the bivvy bag. But that's an option if it does get too cold tonight. But honestly, I think with all this reflective material around me, that the longer I'm in here, the more it is going to tend to heat up a little. As long as I don't get condensation, it should, and I do have some air movement because of the opening over here. So as long as I don't get condensation, I shouldn't have any real issues. Like I said, it should hold some body heat in here. And in fact, right now I'm warm enough. I'm thinking of taking off the jacket, at least for now, and see if I can get that brown adipose tissue activated a little more, get my torso generating some heat, and then if I need to, I can put on the jacket again later, and I should be really warm. So we'll see how that goes, but so far this bed is really comfortable anyway. The time I took gathering up all the pine needles was definitely time well spent. I don't think I'll get much cold coming up from the ground, and kind of conforms to my body and really makes a comfortable bed. So anyway, I'll most likely wake up at some point during the night and give an update and see what the weather's doing and such. So catch you later. Well, hello there. It's about 10:45 now. I'd hoped to be asleep at this point, but the wind that was predicted all day finally showed up, and it's kind of a little lull at the moment, but it's really been howling around here just for the last probably 15 minutes to half hour. It picks up pretty good at times. And, if that had been happening earlier, I probably would have opted to not do my camp out tonight, but since I'm already out here, don't really feel like stumbling around in the dark with the trees blowing like that, trying to get back to the house. And I figure I'm in a fairly sheltered spot anyway. My shelter's hardly moving at all, and I don't think the trees that I'm under really are moving much with the winds, so I figure I'm about as safe here as I would be trying to head back down to the house. See, I just have my long sleeve undershirt on right now. I don't have the soft shell jacket on. Like I said, I took that off and am relatively comfortable. I'm getting some air movement from the opening when the wind blows, but not enough to really be cold and too uncomfortable for me. And I did put on my stocking cap finally, but that wasn't actually because my head was cold. It was just that the baseball cap I had on would rub against the tarp there every time I moved, and the noise would startle me, so I didn't want to have that waking me up every time I moved around in my sleep. So I decided to put the stocking cap on instead, and that seems to be working pretty well. So anyway, there goes the wind again. You can see that my shelter moves a little bit, but it's not flapping too bad at all. It's staying pretty stationary. I'm hearing some needles hitting against it and stuff, but nothing major, so we'll see how it goes. If the wind doesn't get any worse, things should be fine. And I don't know if it's snowing at the moment. I haven't poked my head back outside lately. Last time I checked, it wasn't. When I was still at home having dinner, I checked the latest forecast, and they were saying a chance of like 1 to 2 inches overnight. But if that turns out to be as accurate as the rest of their forecast, we probably won't have anything overnight. Anyway, we'll see how that works out. Shouldn't have any real effect on me one way or the other. And, you know, if I get cold, I'll just do like I said and put my jacket back on, maybe use the bivvy bag if I need to, or take the emergency blanket and roll it up over me and do whatever it takes to just hold some heat in. Shouldn't be any big deal. Fortunately, I've been doing my cold adaptation process anyway, and so this is just all part of that, and so far has been relatively comfortable. So I'll see what the wind does and see how the rest of the night goes and check back again later. Well, we're still hanging around freezing. Hasn't gotten all that cold, but as you can see now, starting to actually get some snow coming down. I don't know if it'll actually stick or not, but it's coming down, so we shall see. I'm still a little skeptical about getting an inch or two of snow, but it is at least snowing now. So I don't even know what time it is right now, but I think I had to step outside, and when I go back in here, I think I am going to adjust my setup a little bit and double up the space blanket deal there and wrap that around me a bit. Just my legs are getting a little bit chilly, so in the interest of being able to get some more sleep and not waking up just being chilly, I'll do that and see how that works out. It wasn't bad, but it was just cold enough to where it makes it a little hard to actually doze off. So I'll try changing that around and see how that works out. Well, it's currently just a little after 1:30 now. I am bundled up in my emergency blanket burrito, and that made it more comfortable on my legs. I can't say that I'm actually warm, but I'm not cold to the point where I couldn't sleep or anything. Now the problem with trying to sleep is this crazy wind has been so noisy that every time I even think of dozing off, it wakes me up. And also a couple of times the radio has gone off. Found out that my roll-up J-pole antenna works so well that I'm picking up traffic from the Mount Carmel radio. Apparently they're having a conversation with one of our ambulances going over the pass, and I can't hear the ambulance end of the conversation, but I hear Mount Carmel loud and clear, which is pretty impressive for a hospital that's over 40 miles away and on the other side of the mountains. So at least I know that my antenna works well, but it would actually be kind of nice not to hear that radio traffic at the moment, because I'd like to get some sleep. But like I said, the wind is pretty much preventing that, so I'm currently just kind of waiting it out and trying to doze off a little as I can, just try and get a little bit of rest anyway. And once I get some daylight, I'll get up and brew up some coffee and have some oatmeal and such, and then as soon as it's light enough that I can see really well, then I'll head back to the house, because obviously I'm going to be pretty tired by a little later in the day. But I don't think that the wind's showing any signs of stopping anytime soon, and I haven't checked outside to see if it's still snowing, but you know, if we get much heavy wet snow on the trees and the wind keeps up, it'll probably just be a matter of time till branches start breaking or some trees come down or something. And I really don't want to be out walking around by the light of a headlamp trying to find my way through that mess. So again, I'll just keep hunkering down here and wait it out, and I'll check back again later. Well guys, it's just about 2:50 in the morning right now. It looks like it's snowing steadily now, just small flakes. I can't see that there's really any accumulation in the grass, but it is coming down. No idea what the temperature is because I haven't stepped out to take a look. The wind is still just howling around constantly. I've dozed off a couple of times, but just very fitful sleep because the noise keeps waking me up. And I have to say now that my feet are flat out cold. You've probably heard the adage that cotton kills. Well, I'm wearing cotton socks, and that was obviously a bad decision because through the course of the night I've felt them slowly getting wetter from my feet sweating or whatever, or just from condensation. And the wetter they get, the colder my feet have gotten. So in a moment I'm going to break out a dry bag that I have with some spare clothing in it, and I've got some good heavy-duty synthetic socks in there. They can dry my feet off well and rub them a bit, try and get the circulation going, put some fresh socks on and see if that feels a little bit better. And then while I'm at it, I think I am going to go ahead and break out the bivvy bag. I'm finding that this emergency blanket folded over me does keep me pretty warm, but with the same problem of condensation. And as I'm laying here, I can feel that my pants have slowly been soaking some of that up, and I know it's just a matter of time till that starts feeling cold. So my bivvy bag claims that it's breathable, and you know, it's supposed to be able to keep the warmth in without building up a bunch of condensation. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but I haven't ever actually used the thing, so I think now would be a good time to test it out. I figure at worst, it can't be any worse than the setup I have now, and it might be an improvement. Either way, I need to kind of find out what my gear is capable of, so and even if it doesn't work that well, I know that I can still make it through the rest of the night without any major problems. I just would prefer to be dry, but I'm going to take care of my feet and then break out that bivvy bag and test it out and see how it goes from there. Okay, I did decide to step outside. It's 29 degrees now, and as you can see, it's definitely picking up a bit on the snow. Like I said, no real accumulation, at least on the grass, but there's some. If it keeps going at this rate, by morning there will definitely be more of it. So anyway, I'm gonna step back inside and get my feet dried off and warmed up, and talk to you later. Okay, I made it into my bivvy and got my socks changed, and I'll find out how that works out. It's now about 10 after 3, so got probably another 3 hours to go before there's enough light to really get up and do anything, and hopefully the wind will die down enough by then that I can actually fire up my stove and make coffee. The way it's been blowing, I don't know if I'd even be able to do that without it getting blown over, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to try to get some sleep again. Good morning. It's Sunday morning. Obviously we did get a little bit of snow, not a whole lot, but got some. So now I just have to get my boots on and get up out of here and start getting everything together to head back to the house. So it's still about 29 degrees this morning, so not too terribly cold, but certainly cold enough. Got another bit of snow coming down now, just lightly falling. And there's my shelter, held up nicely, didn't really get much snow on it or anything. Even with all the crazy wind we had, it stayed up all night. So at this point, it's actually later than I planned on sleeping, so I'm going to just leave it set up and go down and get ready for church. I'll come back later in the afternoon and break camp and get everything put away. So, and then later on I'll get around to editing video and getting this posted. So I'll talk to you later. Hey guys, it's Sunday evening, September 29th. I just came back up to the upper part of the property to retrieve my shelter. So as you can see, the snow's cleared away. It snowed a chunk of the morning, but then it warmed up enough that the snow on our property went away anyway. But there's still areas in the hills higher up where there's some snow frosting the trees. And then from here I can see across the other side of the valley that there's still a decent amount of snow coating things over there. And of course, as it cools down this evening, it could start dumping some more anytime. So I'm going to go and collect up my shelter and get back down the hill quickly. Well, there it is. It's been over 24 hours since I set it up and stood up to the high wind gusts we had last night, and snow and rain and everything else. So I think that should qualify me for my shelter building for search and rescue anyway. And let's see, it's right around freezing, maybe half a degree over or something, just at the time of day where it's going to start cooling off again. So I am going to get this thing down and make tracks back for home. That pretty well wraps things up for this little adventure. It's been Republic Jim. Talk to you later.